God will give them over to believe a big lie, and that's part of the big lie. You see, they won't accept the resurrection of Christ, but they sure going to have the resurrection of Antichrist, and it'll be a fake. Now his stroke of death was healed. It shows the blasphemous imitation of the death and resurrection of Christ. And the challenge will be in that day, what has Christ done that Antichrist has not done? And nobody today can imitate the resurrection. Well, they might imitate it, but they can't duplicate it. But yet Antichrist is going to duplicate it in a way that'll fool the world. It's the big lie. We say today, Christ is risen. And so the boast is going to be in that day, so is Antichrist. The Roman Empire will spring back into existence under the cruel hand of a man who faked a resurrection, and a gullible world that rejected Christ is finally taken in by his forgery. You see, we've now begun to get a composite picture. We saw a rider on a white horse bringing a false peace into the world. You know that in the history, recorded history of man, man is engaged in 15,000 wars, and he's signed some 8,000 peace treaties. Yet, in the entire history, he has only enjoyed 200 to 300 years of true peace. And certainly G.K. Chesterton was accurate when he says one of the paradoxes of this age is it's the age of pacifism, but not the age of peace. And so he comes in on a false platform of bringing peace to the world. And we in the United States, how many times have we elected a president on the platform he's going to bring peace? And he took us right into a war. And that's been true of president after president. We have been a warlike nation. We are not very peaceful, by the way. In fact, it's difficult to find any neighborhood where there's real peace. I'm going to give two quotations here that are quite remarkable. One comes from Toynbee, who's the Director of Studies in the Royal Institute of International Affairs. Now, he gave this in 1953. He says, by forcing on mankind more and more lethal weapons, and at the same time making the world more and more interdependent economically, technology has brought mankind to such a degree of distress that we are ripe for deifying any new Caesar who might succeed in giving the world unity and peace. And that's all Antichrist will have to offer the world when he comes. He said, I'm going to give you peace. And they're all going to say hallelujah and put him in office. That's the way we do it over here. And we're supposed to be a very cultured, educated, sophisticated, civilized nation. The world will put Antichrist in power. Now, Bishop Fulton J. Sheen made this remarkable statement. Listen to it. The Antichrist will come disguised as the great humanitarian. He'll talk peace, prosperity, and plenty, not as a means to lead us to God, but as ends in themselves. He will explain guilt away psychologically, make men shrink in shame if their fellow men say they are not broad-minded and liberal. He will spread the lie that men will never be better until they make society better. And may I say that's one statement of Bishop Sheen I'll agree to 100%. Antichrist is yet to come. And so what happens? Well, he's going to make himself God. I'm reading verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon because he gave his authority unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, and who is able to war with him? And this is the supreme moment, I think, for Satan. He wants to be worshipped, and the whole world is going to worship him in this period. My friend, if the Spirit of God took his hand off this world today and off of you and me, I'm afraid that many of us would be in the position of backsliders, and if Antichrist appeared, we'd follow him like a little faithful dog following his master. Who is like unto the beast? What a parody on the worship of the true God. Why, they say, look, we are worshiping something wonderful than the God of the Bible. And then in verse 5, I read, and there was given to him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and there was given to him authority to continue 42 months. And the only good thing here, and I'll give you the good news first, he won't be here, but 42 months reigning like this. In other words, 3.5 years. And when it says a mouth speaking great things, it means he's a big mouth fella. Daniel mentions that concerning him. He is really going to be a big talker. He'll promise anything. And that's the reason you ought to be careful listening to anyone today on radio, including this poor preacher, or any politician, or anyone else, an educator today, and news media. I want to tell you, we need to test everything that you and I hear today. Antichrist is going to have charisma. He's going to be able to talk himself into the good graces of this Christ-rejecting world. Now, verse 6, and I read it. He opened his mouth for blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle which dwell in heaven. Now, this is the dreadful limit to which the beast goes in blasphemy. He's against Christ and his church that are in heaven. Thank God the church is not here. I do not see how anyone who studies Revelation could believe that the church is going to go through this period. Now, verses 7 and 8. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and overcome them. What are we talking about? We're talking about those that are living in the great tribulation period. And there was given to him authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation, and all that dwell on the earth shall worship him, every one whose name hath not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb that hath been slain. And as Spurgeon used to say, I'm sure glad I got my name written in the Lamb's book of life before I got here, because if God had waited till I got here, I never would have got the name in. Well, I think that's a very wonderful statement and the way to explain this. This is the darkest hour in the history of the world, and the church, thank God, will not be here. Now, this is something you can be thankful for, friends. I want to say that I'm thankful that I'm not going to be here and will not be under Antichrist. I'm under Christ, and I'm not looking for Antichrist. I'm looking for Christ to come. That's the important thing, the all-important thing. Now we're going to see him here as he becomes this world dictator. What are God's people going to do? Defy him? Will they be able to stand against him? Will they be able to fight him? God's going to tell him a most unusual thing to do.